Coming up on this special holiday edition of ACMi News, looking back at the summer of 2019. Sometimes TV is a one-way medium. We wanted to hear what our viewers had to say about us and how you can take part in becoming a citizen journalist. Hundreds of musicians singing these notes because it fits in well with the chords they're playing. Porchfest 2019 in Arlington proved once again you can never have too many notes. 70 years of not knowing finally come to an end. A Korean War veteran has come home to loved ones in Arlington after being away for far too long. He was never forgotten in what has been called America's Forgotten War. Brenda Mahoney has a full report. Some Arlington residents gathered to find out more about their eastern coyote neighbors. Can humans and these canines peacefully coexist? Tonight, dispelling the many myths about these beautiful and mysterious creatures.
From McLennan Park to Spy Pond, from Poets Corner to the Mystic River, we have Arlington covered. We're your neighbors, a friend you can turn to. This is ACMi News.
Hello, and welcome to this special edition of ACMi News. All this week, we're going to take a look back at the special events that occurred in Arlington in the late spring and the entire summer of 2019. And we decided to take our show outdoors next to beautiful Spy Pond, taking advantage of this marvelous late August weather. Let's go back now to the month of June, where the town of Arlington was alive with the sound of music. And as we found out in Porchfest 2019, there are never too many notes. The gods of music shone brightly upon more than 225 musicians, performers, and visual artists on nearly 130 Arlington porches. From the porch on 63 Claremont Avenue featuring the Barrows. Time, 'cause I'm 7 hours behind. It's probably good I didn't call though. To the folk music at Old Schwam Mill.
It takes us back to another time, maybe a quieter time and a calmer time. That's a lovely place to be.
To the more traditional tunes on the grounds of the Jason Russell House.
We like to play at the historic sites like the Jason Russell House here, and playing outdoors acoustically for the people. It's just a very enjoyable experience.
For Arlington's LGBTQ+ Rainbow Commission, this is their first Arlington Porchfest Pride stage on Academy Street.
Perfume magazine. Wear it up, write it down.
This is only the second year that the Rainbow Commission has been in existence, and our very first Porchfest, and so we're doing a Pride stage with karaoke hosted by Jacqueline Friedman, and we're just excited to be here and see how it goes. And this is a test case.
And there's still, reports throughout the world of violence and bigotry and everything else towards the LGBTQIA community. So, it's beginning, but we still have a lot of work to do.
So whether it's karaoke, folk, bluegrass, or rock, music creates a magic that touches the heart and soul, communicating where words fail. Having it on one's own front porch makes it incredibly American. For ACMi News, I'm Jeff Barnes. In early May, ACMi News was able to hold its first meet and greet of this year in Studio A. It was a chance for Arlington residents to meet the news team. It was also a chance for the residents to find out what hyperlocal news is all about. and it was certainly a chance to find out how residents can actually take part in our news gathering process.
There's going to be an opportunity for you guys to ask questions as well. And so if we miss anything that enticed you here, then make sure that you speak up and have your curiosity satisfied.
A lot of the residents here in Arlington, I have realized, are truly attuned to what's going on with our government. And I have, believe me, I've interviewed people on the streets of Baltimore or D.C. What do you think of Mike Pence? Who's he? But when I get answers back from people in
Who
Arlington,
is he, actually?
Yeah, exactly.
What's he been doing?
Actually, that could be a good question.
It is a good question right now.
But I'll talk to people from Arlington, and I can tell, wow, you read a paper, or you know the exact budget, or you know the dollar amounts. And it just seems to me that people here in Arlington are truly involved in their community. And that's something that I have found to be very rare from where I've worked. So that's a credit to Arlington, and that just one more variable and one more reason why I'm really glad to be here. I got into journalism because I love to write. I love to tell stories. I just love to tell stories. And I'm used to anchoring in markets where, as we all know, the first 8 minutes of a newscast is not enjoyable. It's just bad news, drive-bys, fires, things like that. I like doing stories that were informative, where I would look at some research material and go, wow, I never knew that. So now I want to parlay that story into the viewer. And if the viewer at the end of my report says, gosh, I didn't know that, that is like so cool.
I was just going to explain that, James and some people may not realize, but as an anchor, when you're the anchor, you don't have to have that top story where you're going and pursuing, talking about something that you don't necessarily want to talk about. So when you're the anchor, you get to do the kinds of stories that you really want to do.
Exactly.
But as a general assignment reporter, you have to go and do the latest fire or
Right.
whatnot. And some people
Right.
really do like that and get the adrenaline rush.
They
and it's
do.
good for a while. But for me, like I got burnt out
Yeah.
from that, and
Yeah.
going and pestering people and trying to get them to, talk to us about how they feel about their, loved one just being, murdered.
What's cool about here is we are not beholden to stockholders. That's the bottom line for any local TV station or network, is the bottom line. In the old days, the news department was a money-losing proposition. It was a given. It was a write-off. It was a liability to the TV station. But it was the community identifier. And it's just as the years have gone on, I'm thinking, all these commercial breaks and the longer commercial breaks and the less ratings they're getting, which is why you're seeing these extended newscasts now. That's why in Boston you have local news from 4:30 to 6:30, because they're trying to grab the same amount of ratings they used to get in the old days between 6 and 6:30. And I thought it was getting a little ridiculous when I forget where I was, but closed captioning brought to you by KO Pectate. And it's like,
So it's really threefold. So we're looking for more viewers, obviously, to be a presence taken in town and used as a resource for information and storytelling. We're both storytellers, and I'll indulge for a moment that you're right, actually. It's very unusual for community access to have two professional storytellers. It's usually maybe someone who was doing government and now they've gone into maybe starting a little bit of news and it's talking heads, where if you look at our stories, we're doing visual storytelling.
Yeah.
And then the other part is, yes, we would love to have people who are volunteers come on in and maybe learn to do, some reporting of features, business stories, whatever, architecture, whatever it may be that interests you, or simply pitching us ideas or letting us know, or sending your own iPhone-generated videos.
Tell us about a couple of things that we didn't see in any of those videos that are,
Like what?
just stuff that either mistakes that you made or lessons you learned.
James, if I had to find any mistake I've ever made on the air.
Yeah, that's
37
right.
years, I have never made a mistake.
Yeah, that's.
I worked for an NBC affiliate in Scranton, Wilkes-Barre, and I had to do a satellite interview with Tom Brokaw. And there's two monitors, just like this, and I could see me here, and I sat down, and I'm getting ready to do a satellite interview with Tom Brokaw about the gangs rising in LA. So I'm sitting there, and the other monitor was empty. It had an empty chair. So I'm thinking, well, that's Tom's chair. So Tom's not ready. So they said, before we do an interview, can we get a mic check so we can get a mic level with you? and I always liked imitating Tom Brokaw. So, I figured I'd be smart, and said, "Good evening, live from Lillehammer tonight. Welcome to NBC News. I'm Tom Brokaw, and we're going to be going to Lily Langtree." And the guy in my ear's going, "Idiot, he can hear you." And then I looked at the monitor; it was in the wrong monitor, and then all of a sudden he was there, and he's kind of like, never got another job at NBC again. This meet and greet was also a marvelous opportunity for us to meet the Arlington residents and to tell the Arlington residents how they can take part in the hyper-local news gathering process. If you're interested in becoming a citizen journalist, all you have to do is go to our website at ACMi.tv. You know, it's absolutely impossible for all the television networks to be everywhere at once covering events of the day, the week, the month, or the year. They can't be everywhere at all times. ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, Fox, they can't be everywhere at once. They rely on people who call them in saying, "Hey, I have something on my cell phone you may want to be interested in seeing and maybe covering." They rely on citizen journalists. They certainly, as you have seen, rely on people who have been at the right place at the right time. Well, ACMi is no different. And here's how you can take part in the hyper-local news gathering process. And you don't need an expensive tripod or even a microphone or a hoity-toity camera. You may have seen us around town, ACMi TV news crews covering the latest in public, education, and government issues on a weekly basis. But if you see news in the making while we are covering other events, we would love to hear from you. The great thing is you don't need thousands of dollars worth of camera equipment, microphones, tripods, SD cards, and I don't even know what that is. No, all you need to do to get a good news story is this. Practically every smartphone comes equipped with built-in tools that allow you to completely cover an event that you feel is newsworthy. This is all you have to do. Open the camera app on your phone and change it to record video. Hold the camera horizontally. See how it matches the shape of your television? Just remember, don't do this, do this. When you're ready to take your video, hold your phone as steady as possible. You can slowly move or pan on your subject, or you can hold the camera still. Your choice. Make sure your video lasts longer than 5 seconds to say 20 seconds. Then, if you want to take more video, just hit the record button again. 5 seconds to up to 20 seconds. The shorter the video, the easier it will be to send to us.
Keep the phone steady. You don't have to swing it around like it's Blair Witch Project. Just keep the phone like right tight against your body and send us short videos, 20 seconds in length. That's really all you need to do.
Once you've covered your story, select the videos you wish us to see. And the easiest thing to do is send it as an attachment in an email to us, news@acmi.tv. But wait, before you press send, don't forget to tell us about the story, the proverbial who, what, when, where, and why, and we'll contact you if we have questions. Every Arlingtonian can act as our eyes and ears. This is your television station as well.
We're here for the community, and our whole purpose is to support the community and to create community. So we have our community here at ACMi, but we also have the larger Arlington community that we're here to support. So it's really important that we're all sharing and speaking and sharing our opinions with each other.
So, to recap, horizontal, 5 to 20 seconds. Choose the videos you like and send it to us as an attachment to our email address, news@acmi.tv. Oh, and if you really want to learn how to use our state-of-the-art equipment, ACMi can teach you.
Yeah, if you want to come in and learn how to use our video and audio equipment, if you want to come in and be a producer and use our studio, we have all the equipment and all of the knowledge here to teach and share with you how to make your own videos.
They also have the knowledge to tell me that this is a Steadicam holder thingy. For ACMi News, I'm Jeff Barnd. We've already had citizen journalists shoot, edit, and even report on their own stories, and it's a lot of fun. If you want to take part, you don't have to know how to shoot or edit. We have experts at ACMi who will either help you or show you how to do it. All you have to do is go to our website, as we said before, acmi.tv, or even pay us a visit if you'd like, at 85 Park Avenue in the Heights. Okay, this next story happened in June. After 70 years of uncertainty, a Korean POW finally comes home to loved ones. He is given full military honors for his bravery and for his valor in what is known now as the Forgotten War, a war that, for better or worse, has shaped our modern world. And our assistant news director, Brenda Mahoney, was there.
George is home. He's home. That's what counts.
It's been called the Forgotten War, but people are remembering Sergeant George Chapani, a 19-year-old Korean War POW. His remains recently identified and brought to family in Arlington. For 90-year-old Cliff Benoit, the memories of Chapani forever with him. He's the one who buried him after he died as a fellow prisoner of war 68 years ago.
We dug a grave on the side of a hill in some farmer's lot. It was winter, and winters was sometimes 20 below. We covered him with stones, covered his body with a tarp, couldn't do anything more. And then the guards walked us back to our camp.
Benoit survived over 2 more years in the camp. At the end of the war, both being from Boston, he visited Chapani's family, descendants of whom made a recent DNA connection to Chapani, buried as one of the unknowns at the National Memorial Cemetery in Hawaii, known as the Punch Bowl. Sergeant Chapani is the second Korean War POW to have his remains come through town in 3 years. He isn't from Arlington, but still townfolk coming out to show that they will not forget the service to his country.
I think it's important to honor everybody who served our country, served in a military, and did their best to protect our freedoms.
I was in the Army in the Korean conflict with 3 of my brothers. He deserves to have a special day here. You know, how they find these bodies and identify them is just fantastic. With our government following through, they don't forget you.
The story coming full circle for the Chapanis and Benoits when both families chose Keith's funeral home, Benoit's wife having died in April.
Lo and behold, they're going to be at Keith's where my mom was, and they mentioned my dad, and they were surprised he was still alive.
Did you know of this story before?
No, I didn't. He never talked about any of this stuff. I guess they just didn't. You can't imagine going through them yourself.
But now, Cliff Benoit, with Chapani's childhood friend, Louis Rosetta, standing by his side, he's able to share the things he never forgot.
A hell of a nice guy. George was the best.
Adding, he may have lost a friend all those years ago, but he's gained a new one. Brenda Mahoney, ACMi News.
According to the Defense POW MIA accounting agency, nearly 7,500 U.S. military personnel who took part in the Korean War are still unaccounted for nearly 7 decades later. Coming up next, right after the break on ACMi News, some Arlington residents gather to find out more about the eastern coyote. Can humans and these canines peacefully coexist? Tonight, dispelling the many myths about some of our most mysterious neighbors. Stage and screen legend Ed Asner plays a cantankerous deity who boldly steps between the red and the blue in a political performance where laughter is indeed the best medicine. That and more when we come back. Stay with us.
If you see news happening in your area and you have a smartphone, you can see it, shoot it, send it. Make sure to hold your phone horizontally and send us your video. Or share your video with us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just look for ACMi News.
Wow, these are really good.
You act surprised. Practice makes perfect.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of teens in foster care who don't need perfection. They need you.
Welcome back to ACMi News. I'm Jeff Barn. There has been an uptick in phone calls to the Arlington Police Department regarding recent coyote sightings. According to the Arlington PD, they receive roughly a dozen calls a day regarding the coyotes. And that's why a meeting was held on July the 31st at Town Hall to address residents' concerns. Arlington's Animal Control Officer Diane Welch was joined by John Magaranis, an expert from Project Coyote. Now, both dispelled some of the misinformation about these animals before a crowd of roughly 200 people. Magaranis says coyotes are here because over the centuries, humans virtually wiped out all of their natural predators like the black bear, cougars, and even wolves. And really, it's our fault we're coexisting with them in 2019 right here in the town of Arlington. Still, coyotes help keep the rodent population in this town in check, and they like to be where we are not.
And we have seen coyotes.
We've seen coyotes promenading up and down Ridge Street, and we love seeing them, and we're delighted with the lecture tonight to find out how to behave around coyotes and all of the good they're doing with taking care of the rodent population. So we're really pleased.
And we do not have pets, but we came because we want to learn, and we did. This was fabulous.
I have a dog, so I've heard a lot of the commotion about coyotes and things like that, and I've been kind of interested in learning more about it and, you know, the appropriate ways to not interact with them when I'm out with my dog and stuff like that.
I've definitely heard them in my neighborhood. I have a very timid dog, and I wanted to come and make sure that she'd be okay. Yeah, I basically learned that I don't think that I need to worry too much. Coyotes are probably just as scared as us, as some folks may be of them.
Now, I talked to Welsh and Magaranis before this meeting at Town Hall, and we went to a place where the coyotes reside, just a few yards away from civilization. And according to Welsh and Magaranis, these eastern coyotes are here to stay, so we better get used to it. Just a few hundred yards from the noise of our everyday existence is a more primitive and serene neighborhood in Meadowbrook Park on the grounds of Mount Pleasant Cemetery. Here you'll find plenty of wildlife living right next door to all of us, including an increasing number of eastern coyotes, just like these caught on video in New York. An animal experts say has staked a claim in the northeastern portion of the U.S., and unfortunately is very misunderstood.
It's typical coyote habitat. You know, it's a lot of dense cover for them to, you know, run and hide. I'm sure this place is loaded with rabbits and mice and rats. You know, they'll eat, you know, 80% of their diet is rodents. So, you know, this is a great place for them to come and feast on all kinds of Arlington's rodents.
I love them, and we need them in this town. We have a tremendous rodent problem. People are complaining so much about the rabbits eating all their flowers and garden decorations and all the planting that they do. So the coyotes are going to keep that in check.
Animal experts say this creature rarely ever looks for a fight, and that coyotes go out of their way to stay out of ours.
And they're not going to eat your babies, they're not going to eat your grandmothers and all that kind of stuff. Now, if you let your cat run loose at night, it's fair game. And you can't blame a coyote for acting like an animal. That's what he does. If you leave your dog out in the backyard and it's in a 6-pound dog, you can't blame the coyote if you lose your dog. And believe me, I love dogs more than anything on this planet. And the last thing in the world I ever want to see is a dog being taken by a coyote or hurt in any way. So this is really important to me, that people get that it's their responsibility to take care of their animals and not feed them to coyotes or other wildlife.
Recent research has shown that the eastern coyote, the kind of animal that lives in a setting like this in the northeastern U.S., are of a hybrid species. They're way different than their western counterparts. Their DNA makeup consists mainly of 60% western coyote, 30% wolf, and 10% dog. And an eastern coyote is bigger than a western coyote. An eastern coyote weighs anywhere between 30 and 40 pounds. A western coyote weighs 25 to 30 pounds. So obviously an eastern coyote is going to have a much bigger meal.
I just learned last week that one fox can eat up to 20 pounds of rodents per day. So let's take that to a coyote who's a bit bigger than a fox. So it's probably about 25, maybe even, I'd say 25 pounds of rodents a day. They will eat because they don't know when they're getting their next meal, right? So they're very opportunistic hunters.
Not to bash the media, but the media just hasn't been very friendly to coyotes. They repeatedly report coyote sightings under the umbrella that it's aggression. And people see this stuff on the news and they get the feeling that these are aggressive animals, and they're not.
So rather than punishing animals for their natural behavior, maybe we can protect all creatures, domestic and wild, living among us, using just a little common sense.
I love that we have so many hidden, beautiful little green spaces in Arlington. I know people are frightened. That's why I asked John from Project Coyote to do this meeting.
Diane Welsh hopes that in the very near future, we can learn to coexist with the eastern coyote. After all, this creature has roamed these ancient lands for 15,000 years. That's much longer than humankind has ever called these parts home. For ACMi News, I'm Jeff Barnd. Animal experts say where I'm standing right now, doing this newscast, I could be just a few yards away from a coyote, maybe even a pack of coyotes, and where they live. That's how widespread they are in the town of Arlington. All right. There is a way to scare them, however. Mahoney says there are many ways to scare them, or haze them, as he says. You can stand tall, you can yell at the animal, you can wave your arms frantically, and they will be scared and run away. Maintain eye contact with the animal, according to Welsh and Mahoney. They say that way the animal knows you mean business. And if a coyote comes around here in the next few seconds, you're going to see it right here. Meantime, let's go to the Regent Theater in the month of June. 89-year-old award-winning actor Ed Asner was in town. He's the man who starred in the Pixar Oscar-winning picture Up. He also played Santa Claus in Will Ferrell's Elf. He's probably, however, best known for playing the cantankerous comedic TV character Lou Grant on television for years. In June, Asner was in Arlington starring in a play at the Regent called God Help Us. God Help Us is about a cantankerous God who's none too pleased with what we mortals have done to his creation through our petty political bickering. We sat down with Mr. Asner as he talked about the play and what drives this one-of-a-kind actor to keep on pleasing his audience.
Welcome to the circus, where the elephants and the donkeys are flinging crap all over my creation. In other words, politics as usual. Tonight I will be the moderator of a great debate.
Look who just got elected.
The people spoke.
3 million more voted for Hillary.
Trump won in the Electoral College.
The Electrical College? Is that one of those online schools? Well, it presents a couple who were lovers at one time, but evidently their socio-political feelings and thoughts were too much for them to stay together. God has brought them together again, trying to create a compromise. And he is a comedic God, so he fumbles constantly. It's the greatest activator in the world, showbiz, and I thrive on it. It makes me alive. I feel alive. And it's not an act of desperation, of hanging on before I slip into oblivion. I feel better acting.
Asner says this play speaks to audiences red, blue, and anywhere in between, with one defining message. We must listen to each other so that we can live and laugh together. Now, if you missed Ed Asner this time, he's coming back to the Regent in November for a one-man play. And that'll do it for this special edition of ACMi News as we took a look back at just some of the events that occurred in late spring and summer of 2019 right here in Arlington. I'm Jeff Barnd. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a very happy and safe Labor Day week, and we will see you back in Studio A next week. Good night.
You can always check out our latest segments and newscasts on the web at acmi.tv/news. And don't forget to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter and Instagram at ACMi News. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. You'll find us at youtube.com/ACMi News. If you have any news tips for us or wish to become a citizen journalist, we'd love to hear from you. Email us at news@acmi.tv. or stop by ACMI Studio A at 85 Park Avenue.